But what if aliens are watching us, and they've been watching us, and they're like, we'll only step in when it seems like we're needed? Are they close to stepping in, do you think? You know what I'm saying?
I hope.
If that's even remotely true.
I would hope.
Are they like looking at this like, holy fuck, it's really starting to heat up down there? Like before it was like Earth and geological changes and fish kills and bird die-offs and shit like that.
Cattle mutilation.
Now all of a sudden the shit that they've been doing just kind of randomly over the past few years is just ramping up over like, and it's really weird. It's election year.
Yeah.
Do you think any of this kind of shit will be going on?
Did you see
this time next year?
They made the new The Purge election year.
Yeah,
that looks interesting.
I've never watched The Purge.
I wonder if it's just by coincidence that that's coming out in the middle of the hashtag Summer of Chaos.
All right, well, let's do the intro and then I want to get back to that.
Yeah,
The Purge. That's interesting,
right? Because what's happening?
Hey, Willie, come take a listen to this. Turn it up!
Oh. Hey, Willie, come here. Listen to this.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3NN Podcast. Now
with more
molecules.
Maybe I should not have said now there. I'm still working on it. Bear with me, folks. We have a very important show today. My name is Nick Tesla.
Brian McFadden.
And we're here to, we're the official podcast of Open Mind. So we'd like you to open your mind today and please don't have any judgment on us or any, please don't throw any haterade our way. If you feel the need to, I guess you're going to no matter what.
Trolls will be trolls. Don't feed them.
We are just trying to be objective today. I want to state personally, and I feel you probably feel the same way, Brian. I want to send my condolences out to any family member, any friends that lost somebody this week, whether it be a police officer or a citizen, lost somebody that they loved and did not deserve to lose, an innocent life that was taken. Even those police officers, yes, they are a part of a group that the national police. So we don't have national police, but you know what I'm saying.
Obama's pushing for that.
Our police have been doing some pretty atrocious things, but that does not mean that every single police officer deserves to lose their life because they're a part of that group. You know, for all we know, a couple of those police officers that could have been killed could have been oath keepers, and that's bad. We can't be shooting our oath keepers and taking out the oath keepers. They're the ones that are actually protecting us.
They're the ones that'll stand up for you when shit really hits the fan.
But I really do. I feel for the people that lost people this week, especially.
Yeah, for those who don't know, who only watch like Fox and Channel 6 or whatever, every single day since the Orlando shooting, there has been a shooting. Either police getting shot by protesters and rioters, or citizens getting shot by police, or citizens shooting citizens. Yes. Every day since Orlando, there has been a major shooting in this country.
And to me, it feels like these have been innocent people. Maybe they committed some crime against humanity at some point in their life, but it seemed like to me that most of these people were innocent people that lost their lives. They did not need to lose their life. Especially the guy who was in the car with his girlfriend, said, I have a weapon on me.
He had his carry and conceal permit.
He says, officer, I have a weapon on me. I have a permit for it. I want you to know that I have that on me. And the officer said, okay, give me your ID. Show me your ID. And he goes to reach for his wallet, and the cop shoots him 4 times in the chest. or 4 times in the side of his body.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend thought he got shot in the arm. No, he got shot in his chest, and the cop just sat there with his gun still drawn on the guy, waiting for backup while the guy bled out. And the guy did everything by the book of what he was supposed to do when you get pulled over and you have a concealed weapon on you with a permit for it. He did everything he was supposed to do. It was because that white fucking cop was fucking being racist, unfortunately, he was being racist to that black man.
It was profiling. He just assumed.
That was not that white cop. Inherently, he's just a racist person. It's the fucking training. It is the way that these cops are taught to treat people, how they're taught to treat mentally handicapped people. Unfortunately, I'm so happy to see in the past 5, not even 10 years, last 5 years, crisis intervention teams becoming a thing. Where, okay, we don't go out and deal with somebody who's mentally ill, who's like standing out in the middle of the street with a knife going, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. You know what I'm saying? We don't treat those people like, let's go out and shoot them, or let's go out and attack them and get them out of there. No, we treat them because we know they have some sort of a mental issue. And I'm glad to see that coming into fruition as far as we need to learn how to handle mentally ill people. But we need to know how to handle regular citizens as well, especially law-abiding citizens who have done nothing wrong, because the training now is leading to innocent law-abiding citizens being killed. And even if they're not law-abiding citizens, if you're a nonviolent offender selling CDs or selling loose cigarettes, that doesn't qualify you to lose your life.
No, it does not.
Not in any stretch of the imagination. This isn't North Korea. What the fuck? And that's what it's starting to feel like.
Well, last night and earlier today, I was watching and rewatching some stuff that B. Rich and Eric M. from Underground World News were talking about on this.
Shout out Underground World News.
Basically on this very topic, and what they were saying, I think it was B. Rich said something along the lines of, if you're a cop just pulling someone over for a seatbelt ticket, and you feel the need, you're afraid enough, you have to walk up on that car ready for a gunfight with your gun drawn and your safety off, then it's time maybe to look for a new job.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
You just, no, we can't.
Or to move to another country where that kind of behavior is a little more accepted. But it's really sad because other than North Korea or maybe China or something like that, you're not going to find a country that is as bad as us when it comes to being able to be a cop who likes to use his police.
There's probably going to be a lot of shout-outs tonight. So
do it up.
Friday, TMTT 15.
Oh, I thought you were going to say TGI Fridays. So
no.
I go there every week.
No, well, he was cool. He casted the live streams me and Eric were sending from the protest in Philly.
Yeah, if you get a chance, just look it up. Eric M. and Brian McFadden. I think it says live in Philadelphia.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's a good YouTube video.
Live Philly protest. It's
a little long, but it's definitely...
It's about an hour and a half of footage.
But you're not going to see a video like that from that protest anywhere else.
No, like, that was crazy. They literally went up the middle of South Street, stopped at 3rd and South for a good half hour. We're just having speeches in the middle of the intersection.
Even though some of those speeches,
and the cops didn't...
question the people...
They just escorted. Kept everyone safe.
Who those speakers are and what their backgrounds are. But you know what was amazing about that problem?
Rumor has it one of them was a police officer.
That's crazy. But you know,
one of the main speakers.
You know what I loved about that video, Brian? It was peaceful.
It was.
Thing, you didn't see anybody getting in any fights. You didn't see people yelling at each other. You didn't see people like screaming in cops'
That's what's crazy about it.
Cops, like,
there was drunk people. There were people there that were friggin' wasted, and they weren't even starting fights. They were just chanting along and walking along and stumbling, but they weren't starting shit.
That's what 99% of these protests have been. Peaceful protests. The people are not out there like, we're going to kill you, cops! No. We need something done about this shit. We can't let it keep on happening and just say, oh, well, and let the media tell us that the victims are the problem, and the victims were just...
What I was getting at was, because, as you said, they could move to other countries. I think it was when I was having phone issues. I don't know if it made it on the stream or not. It may have, it may not have. But I'm walking along. I fall behind Eric about 20 to 30 feet. This dude, I think he said he was from Ecuador, I want to say. He comes up. What are they protesting? So I start explaining it to him. He goes, why protest that? In my country, that happens every day. So it's like...
Why protest that?
I try to explain to him while walking and not falling behind the protest.
My explanation...
Because I was trying to get close-up footage.
A little simple or a little simplistic, but my explanation would have been the First Amendment, my friend. Welcome to freedom. This is why people want to live in this country, and this is why people don't en masse leave the country. Like you'll see in some other countries when there's certain uproar and turmoil, you'll see people, literally refugees, leave that country, and you can't blame those people. I'm not saying those people are cowards or anything like that, not at all. But we have we are born into freedom. When you're born a citizen in this country, you're born into freedom, and you're taught.
Or when you become a citizen, legally.
Through the education, I hate the education system because it drills so much
Common Core math,
much stupid shit into you. It screws up your head. It's what do you call it? Remember and repeat. That's how you pass tests. That's not true learning to me.
And it's half of the history has been revised.
The history has been revised, but what they do instill in you, and maybe it's some people more than others, depending on where your moral basis is at and where your soul lies, and this and that, right? But it instills in you what the freedom that our founding fathers fought for. Even though, yes, they were terrorists. That's what you would, like a lot of people...
Well, okay, how about this, though? What if I were to respond to that statement by saying, well, according to the founding fathers, I should have the freedom to start my own school right next to the other school in town where my science courses teach that the Earth is not a globe.
Well, that's where we could talk about the corporation of the United States.
Which we've done many very long discussions on, and we're definitely not done with that.
But we're talking about how policy and regulations and things like that have come into force where you can't open a school, like a Montessori school, right next to the middle school or the high school of that town. You got to make it at least like 2 miles away or something. I don't know if there's real regulations like that, but you're right. You never see two competing schools a block away from each other or half a block away from each other.
I mean, you have 7-Eleven across the street from Wawa. Why don't you have two schools competing head-to-head?
You're right.
Like that.
You're right, Brian. But they instill in us, that's one of the good things.
Well, we got Holy Cross right up the street from Delran, but...
Yeah, but that's,
Holy Cross is a private school. Delran's a public school, so
religious school.
That's a little different, I guess.
I don't want to say I look down on religious schools, but I look at religious schools almost kind of like how I look at religion as being some organized business that's like not really about instilling good morals and shit like that in kids. It's more about teaching them the old stories, the mythological stories from that religion. I guess that the one you're talking about would be the Catholic religion. But Brian, what I was saying is they instill a level of inherently knowing that you are free. Okay, knowing that you are born as a free individual, as a free individual, and you're born with certain rights, and one of those rights is the freedom of speech.
Okay? One of them's the freedom of protest.
The only person that can keep you from speaking and tell you not to speak is God. Okay, whether you want to believe in God or not, but the only person that can keep you from speaking is God. No government should ever tell you you cannot speak. And that's the thing. Like, I actually had to defend some of the people that were out there saying that the Dallas shooting never happened, and that there's obvious proof that there was crisis actors there, and that it never happened.
But as we discussed a few weeks ago in our Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Orlando shooting episode, just because there was a shitload of crisis actors in Orlando, but people still definitely got shot. Yeah. Now, the numbers may have been drastically manipulated.
That's what I don't like.
And the actors may have put a specific spin on the story, but there were people shot. That's why the word false flag gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people interpret that to mean 100% staged, 100% fake, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Not always the case.
Yeah. Well, what I saw was actually, I believe somebody posted a picture of a girl who looks very similar to a girl who has been seen at numerous other, I guess, what some people would call false flag events. Or
was it Sandy Hook lady with the dark hair?
I think it might have actually been Sandy Hook lady.
Oh, they brought her back, ladies and gentlemen. Sandy Hook lady is back.
And I almost think maybe she was photoshopped into the picture, but I'm pretty sure they were pulling this picture from news sources. But here's the issue, right? This girl was running, crying from the scene. Okay, there's police cars behind her. It's obviously in Dallas, and she's running and crying from the scene. Well, some people started to turn it into an internet meme, trying to basically insinuate that she was a crisis actor, and it's all just it's all fake. Well, there's one person, and this is where I was saying I've seen like people who are kind of conspiracy minded and kind of like flock together.
Well,
I've seen them split
here's the thing.
From stuff like this.
Here's the thing, because a lot of people will be like, nah, they would nah, why would they fake that? Here's the thing. Democracy Spring was a huge thing that was happening with all this march from Philly down to D.C., and there's all these people there. It came out after the fact. All those people that went down there and, quote, got arrested, they were all paid to do that.
Yeah.
And they got let go right around the block 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, a little bit
that
different just
ever since
because
that came out, that changes the way
See,
you have to look at every single
I think we need
thing.
to look at Black Lives Matter protests. I'm not trying to put down Black Lives
Not
Matter.
even all their
Black
protests.
Lives do matter, okay? All lives
It depends who's organizing that protest. You have your national Black Lives Matter and your local ones, and you can get
exactly just like Anonymous. Just
from
like
what I heard Friday on Friday night in Philly,
local Anonymouses.
Now, one of the things I heard on the streets in Philly Friday night was that after the Philadelphia Black Lives Matter people made those threats toward the police and said there will be violence and all that, that's why the national guys came down for this Friday night thing and told the local people, you're not allowed to use our name anymore. You can't, organize anything for Black Lives Matter. Because we're not trying to have this violence.
See, I think a lot of these protests could be co-opted. Could easily be taken over, and leaders could be inserted by certain agencies and governmental agencies.
Which brings us to
as far as Dallas, what I'm saying, look, with this picture of this chick that people were saying, it's obviously a crisis actor. It's obviously a crisis actor. Somebody photoshopped a AK-47 in her arm. She's running, and they found it funny, right? But here's the issue.
I might chuckle at it.
These two people were both my Facebook friends. Okay,
I'm into dark humor.
They're both definitely awake. I would both classify them both as definitely being awake and they know what's going on in this world, okay? They know that there's a lot of corruption, that there's a lot of issues that are swept under the rug or behind the scenes, okay? Here's the issue. One person was putting up the meme like, it's the same crisis actor from before. It's so obvious this is fake, right? Well, the other chick saw that and was like, I actually personally know that person. I may not be friends with them. I may not be fucking close with them, but I know that girl. And you're sitting here trying to say that girl is fake or that girl is an actor and that she wasn't really there or she was paid to be there and it's all fake and this and that. That's fucked up to say that to that girl who was traumatized by that experience. And to sit there and say that girl isn't even real or she's just an actor and it's all fake and this and that. That's so offensive to anybody who is truly affected by it, like me or you.
That's why I was hesitant on our approach to the Oregon situation with regards to Victoria Sharp. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm kind of happy I didn't really go push the crisis actor route, because there was a lot of evidence to support it.
Crisis actor.
But then when the video came out that matched her testimony perfectly, I'm like, kind of glad I didn't do that.
Crisis actor stuff that I find most interesting and most, I guess, has more credibility than any other crisis actor stuff, because a lot of people, especially us white people and some black people,
friggin' Burbano from the Orlando thing. What was his name? Something Burbano.
Yeah, Thomas Burbano.
No, it wasn't Thomas. I forget his first name.
I hated that dude's name. I just don't like it. But
the guy that was paid to be there but was holding the door shut, but was just, a victim.
We know people, right? I'm not sitting here saying...
Saw a 3-inch bullet sticking out of a dude's leg, physically impossible.
How many people you think you know personally that you see once or twice a year or multiple times a year, doesn't matter, but people you know? 100? 150? 200 people maybe?
Maybe something.
Okay. For me, maybe 100 people. At the most, 100 people. Okay? But imagine if one of those people... all of a sudden there was some shooting in Philly or some shooting in Trenton or something like that. And one of those people was there. You didn't know that they were there. Not keeping tabs on them or this or that. But you find out that one of those people that you knew was killed. And you go and visit with their parents or with their family because you met.
And then they watch our podcast and be like, what the fuck?
Is you visit with their family and their family is destroyed. Their family is completely destroyed. Then you come home. And you're kind of distraught like that. I wasn't best friends with that person, but I can't believe they died in this. Like that really sucks. Like I almost want to cry about it. This is like they didn't deserve
Nick,
to lose their life.
Just to say,
imagine coming home and people are like,
I've had a lot of former.
That motherfucker was fake. Yo, you
dude.
Pissed.
A lot of people I went to school with died young, so I can kind of relate it to that. If somebody's like, oh, he didn't die, this is fake, blah, blah, blah. Or guess, yeah.
In the same vein, what if that person was, and this I always battle with this inside my own head, what if somebody that you know and you care about has some sort of a drug problem or even an alcohol problem, right? And they end up either dying in DUI or drinking and driving, or they overdose on drugs or something and they die, okay? and you go and you're around people that love them, and you go to their funeral, whatever it is, and you're all mourning for that person dying. Yes, you know they weren't on a good path in life, but then somebody comes in and says, well, fuck him. He fucking overdosed. He did it to himself. Fuck him. Or he was driving drunk. Fuck him. He fucking died. Like, that person may have some sort of a point, but it's still extremely offensive to say.
It's called tact.
But basically,
and that person doesn't have it.
I defended the person that said it was a crisis actor to an extent, and said, yes, it might be fucked up to say that, and we may feel like that is like so offensive.
Oh, when we first found the,
we cannot start saying you should not say this. You can't say this because that's censorship, and we cannot do that.
Dude, when the Oregon thing went down, when I first found the video of Victoria Sharp, and there was a girl from, it might have been Sandy Hook or the Aurora movie theater, I forget, but something years before where she was a lot younger, and the facial features and mannerisms and everything matched perfectly with Victoria Sharp. I didn't publish that video. I shared that to Eric. Like, yo, what do you think of this? He shared it to a friggin' group on Facebook and got so much heat from that. Oh, what the fuck? Da, da, da. And then Victoria Sharp herself somehow came in, found the conversation. Somebody, messaged her, tagged her in it.
PC, that's political correctness culture, like leaking into everyday life, and even people where they should know better than to even fall into the PC. But especially with that kind of situation, it's like if I was in that situation, yes, I would know those people have the right to say it, but I would not want to hear what those people have to say whatsoever. And that's basically what I told her. It's like, you don't have to hear what those people have to say, but don't tell them they can't say it. And
because once you start down that's a rocky road when you start telling people what they can and can't say.
Country,
that's Orwellian.
We have to
1984.
defend that. We have to defend that. The people that are against Black Lives Matter and think black people are just killing black people, unfortunately, we may not agree with it, but we have to defend their right to say it. Not defend that they said it and defend what they said, defend their right to say it.
Yep.
Because one day we're going to feel we are saying the right thing from the bottom of our heart, and people are going to say, you need to shut up. You're not allowed to say stuff like that, and that's where
the thought police.
A major problem, exactly. The thought police.
We start running into the thought police.
The thought police are growing out of control, just as the
there are countries in this world where you can get arrested for saying the wrong thing. The thought police already exist.
You'd be surprised to know that. I think it's Raritan. I'm not really sure. There's a town or maybe it's Roebling. There's a town in New Jersey, where you can be given a fine for cursing in public.
Are you fucking shitting me?
But you can be given a fine for cursing in public. Hence why I love to curse. Not because of that law, but because people are offended by and don't want to hear curse words. And it's a sound, people. It's a sound. That curse word could have been apples, okay? Somebody at some point, hundreds of thousands of years ago, could have made that curse word apples, and we'd all be like, I can't believe he called me an apple or a mother apple. Can you believe that?
A mother apple.
For fucker is apple or appler or something,
And a fucker is like
a
bottle of water.
Exactly. Exactly. Like they're just sounds. Like you call up
to order dinner. Yeah, I need to order. Let me order a large douchebag with extra pepperoni and 2 flavored fuckers.
Sticks and stones might break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We have to really remember that. We're taught that as kids, and we love to repeat it back when we're kids.
Blank a doodle doo.
Blank willow. All right, so back to the topic at hand here, Brian. I wanted to go over in the past year or so, okay, maybe the past 2 years, it could be. It's basically, I believe, an article I found on USA Today.
Shit, we could go 12 hours on the past week.
The people that have been murdered, and I know this is not a complete list. I tried to real quick pull up a list before we started filming.
Well, for those of you who just learned about us over the weekend, because I understand we got a lot of new views over the weekend.
Hi-yo.
You might want to check out from about 2 weeks ago our Martin Luther King JFK episode.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting episode.
Yeah, there's a few. If you all of our episodes are labeled as far as what the main topic. We touch on a lot of different things for each episode, but we stick to kind of a main topic, and each title kind of tells you what that main topic would be. So if you want to go back and look, we've got almost 60 episodes here, Brian. And
a bunch of episodes of brainstorming, same 2 people.
To find, thebestyoutubechannel.com, so it's not like we're hard to find. But yeah, between brainstorming and 3NN, unfortunately you can find grown-up stuff on there, or at least playlists for grown-up stuff. I don't recommend watching grown-up stuff as far as...
That was Nick's project many years ago before he established himself as remotely good.
Right? I still love it. I still love it, and one day I may start it back up. I'm thinking about starting it back up and rebranding it as the Super Duper Stupid Show. Okay, I think that would be pretty cool. But check out our brainstorming and 3NNs from the past, and you'll see that we... I don't say we're on top of shit. We're so smart. I'm not trying to toot our own horn here, but it's worth listening to. I'll tell you that much. It's better than listening to Megyn Kelly.
Especially maybe the last 20 or 30. The first couple episodes weren't all there.
The first couple episodes we were still trying to find our feet, but yeah, the last 30 episodes or so we've really we've hit it home, and I'm very proud of it.
Nearly every episode we've been doing, I've been going home like, damn, that was a good show today.
The last 10 episodes, I'll tell you what, I've enjoyed the fuck out. I've like literally listened to them like 2 or 3 times each because it's just
so have I.
I'm happy with the product we're putting out. So, but Brian, I want to read you this list. I believe it's from USA Today. Let me check here. I hope I'm not giving myself an echo with the output on. I may have just given myself an echo for the first half an hour of the show. Half an hour. Did I say that right? I don't know. We'll get into Mandela effect.
I believe it's half hour.
Somebody changed half hour to half an hour.
Oh.
Anyway, Brian, here's the list.
No, I am your father.
It's not from USA Today. It's from ABC News. All right, I know. ABC News, CBS News, Fox, NBC. All of them are.
Oh, if anyone can tell me who the
right
cute, really cute blonde reporter from CBS News that was down there on Friday night is, somebody let me know.
That interviewed I guess you could call him organizer.
I wish I knew that dude's name.
The protest down there the other night. He said he was 24.
He looked like he was about 38.
You know what? Something
in person, up close.
But not off enough that I wouldn't be willing to have him on the show and talk to him about what his mission is.
He probably thought he could pass for 24 because he's like thin and lanky.
But then again, have we not all gone to school with some dude who's either balding in high school or has a full-grown beard in high school?
Right, yeah.
So you never know. He could be 24 and looking like he's 50. Who knows? All right, ready? I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm just going to talk about... we got Philando Castile. Okay. He was a 32-year-old, killed by an officer. Okay. The following day, the day before.
Oh, day before.
37-year-old Alton Sterling.
Yes.
Or Alton Sterling.
That one I think most people have heard about by now.
Most people have, and I believe most people have heard of Philando Castile.
A few less, probably.
Philando's the guy who got shot 4 times or 5 times.
But the mainstream didn't cover that as much as they did.
Yeah, because that guy
Sterling.
Even if he did have a criminal record, that guy was doing it by the book. That guy went.
You have to remember, a lot of people still trust the mainstream media.
And I don't know if there's video of him saying, I'm just reaching, or him saying, hey, I have my gun, I have a permit for it, and the officer saying, let me get your license. I believe she started filming after he got shot. But
I think it was like immediately
after. You told him to give you his license. He went for his license, and you shot him. And he's like, I don't care. He said he had a gun on. But the officer didn't say, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. I didn't ask him for his license. No, the officer didn't argue with the way shit went down.
Exactly.
What she was saying, the way it went down. So in all reality, that guy did 0 wrong. 0. You can say, oh, he had a weapon on him. He had a permit.
He told the cop up front, I have a carry and conceal permit, and I have a gun on my left side or whatever it was.
Yep.
He told him all of that. The cop then said, okay, give me your ID. And when he reached for it, he was shot 4 times.
Somebody who knows I have every right to own a firearm and to carry that firearm on me concealed if I have a permit and have it registered, right? Me knowing I have every right to have that refuses to get a fucking gun. Pardon my language, but I refuse to ever want to get a gun. Simply for the fact of...
that?
Owning a gun puts you in this new category of could be killed at any time.
Yeah,
simply because you own a gun. Not just by police, by other people with guns who are concerned that you may use that gun on them. Or other people who have lost their mind and see that you have a gun and need to kill you before you use it on them for some wild reason in their head. Okay? But it includes you in this new category of can be killed, even though we're all in that category at any time.
Yeah,
at a given point.
we really are.
You know what I'm saying? Depending on the cop that's passing you at that moment.
Not even.
Right?
It doesn't even have to be a cop. It could, like you just said, it could be anybody.
We live in bad times. All right, let's get back to this list.
You could have anybody driving up the street. You could have some dude on Flocka driving up the street saying, I don't trust that dude. He looks freaky. Let me kill him before he kills everyone.
Exactly, dude. I don't know if it's Flocka, dude. I'm not a religious person. You know I'm not. But I do believe there's something in between here and the afterlife or the other world or the ether, right? And I don't know. I think there's something in between messing with some of these people that you think are on Flocka and going nuts.
Hashtag CERN.
But we're going to touch on Flocka, crocodile,
Hashtag
HARP. Some other of these crazy drugs that have come out in the past few years that are literally making people bath salts, you know what I'm saying, that are making...
Oh, the bath salt craze was
Flocka
really
is
people?
Like
really
bath
people?
Salts times 10. That's what Flocka is.
But at least it's a drug. It's not like actually something that was sold in stores, right?
From what I know, this is the way I've heard it explained. Flocka is 5 or 6 synthetic drugs. So you got a synthetic cocaine, a synthetic heroin, a synthetic methamphetamine, a synthetic whatever the other
PCP probably.
Maybe, but they're not real. They're all synthetic.
Yeah.
So created.
So it's like K2 times a million.
Exactly, but. Like actual,
but I mean, I put bath salts though in the same category as people who huff aerosols.
I want to know who discovered the bath salts, or was that the main reason it was put out? Because I remember seeing bath salts 20 years ago in Bed Bath and Beyond,
right?
I don't think
way before
going into Bed Bath and Beyond, picking themselves up a thing of bath salts, taking them home, crushing them up, and snorting them.
Right?
I don't think they're right. So who was the first bath salt guy that was like, "Yo, this shit's insane. You got to try this shit." I'm seeing.
You know what I bet? You know what I bet happened? Somebody probably got banned from the hardware store from buying too much paint and paper bags. So they had to try something new. What else can I do? I know, let me try these. What happens if I snort this shit?
Oh, that's great.
I can just picture some out of shape, stereotypical trailer park, middle of nowhere guy.
Staples was out of keyboard cleaner. That's all.
Yeah, keyboard cleaner. There we go.
Stop him from getting it. They were just out one day because he fucking bought it all in like a week, and they didn't care. Hey, they're making a profit off of him. They don't really care. It's fun to watch him come in stumbling around.
That's what I love. They don't care about that, but they have to card you and put your name on a list if you buy Sudafed, if you buy more than 2 packs of Sudafed.
Not 20 years ago.
Ain't that great?
20 years ago.
What if you have kids with allergies and you need more than 2 little packs of Sudafed?
You better have your ID.
But you go on a list as a potential drug lab person.
Yeah. You see, I avoid all those kinds of lists at any point I can. All right.
I believe if you're not on at least one type of list nowadays, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's true. Or you're doing everything right. He'll tell you what.
Yeah, if you support the New World Order.
No, I don't mean right as far as you're being a good subservient zombie. No, I mean you're doing everything right as far as you're avoiding all the things that you need to avoid because you know you may end up on that fucking list. It may not be the smartest from others outside looking in, but from inside looking out, you're preserving yourself pretty well, by not letting yourself on a list. So if shit goes down, you may have a little more time because they're not coming to get you because you're not on.
I guess slightly, we're going to touch on a lot of things involving shootings and Black Lives Matter and protests and stuff like that, but something else that happened this week that really didn't get a lot of coverage, and it almost, because of the people involved, raises the eyebrow of, did this really happen? Is this bullshit? Is this a false flag?
What?
Was InfoWars reporters Joe Biggs and somebody, 3 of them. But the main one was Joe Biggs, our buddy Joe Biggs.
I don't like Joe Biggs.
I've sent you videos exposing Joe Biggs, and a lot of people don't trust Joe Biggs nowadays. But
Joe Biggs might be a good guy.
As the story goes. As the story goes, they had set up cameras along the southern border of the United States in Texas to catch illegals coming across the Rio Grande, which a lot of people do nowadays.
Okay.
So they went down there, and they were getting harassed and shit, so they left, and when they went to come back to get their cameras, they asked the state police, hey, are we allowed to be down there? They're like, yeah. And the police even escorted them down there to get their cameras. They figured, okay, while we're here, we're going to film real quick. And then Federal Park Service agents rolled in and cited them for criminal trespassing, confiscated their legally owned firearms, and charged them each like $280 to get their guns out of the, quote, impound.
Yeah, it's a little goofy. I can see it happening, though.
Yeah, it's like, really? The state police just told these journalists down here, And the theory is it's because they're letting the illegals cross the border and don't want that on camera, and these Joe Biggs might have actually caught something that they didn't want released.
Well, you also got to realize coming up on election time, they want to control the narrative right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Every 4 years, coming up to election, we're, 4 months away from election?
Well, they still forbid the Border Patrol people to talk about the fact that they're not allowed to patrol the borders and they're not allowed to arrest the illegals and they have to let them cross.
You know what that reminds you of, Brian? I was watching an episode of Cops, I think yesterday or the day before it, and there was some dude, right? They went to this black dude's house, right? And I'm not being racist whatsoever. He was just a black dude. He was cool as shit, right? Anyway, you go to this dude's house, and cop walks up, and the dude's like standing at his gate to his backyard or whatever, right? And the cop's like, "Hey, this lady, your next door neighbor, she said that you stole her pot plants and she wants them back."
What?
And the guy's like, "What? I don't got no pot plants. I don't got her pot plants. What are you talking about?" She's like, and the cop's like, "Well, she said that you stole them and you brought them and you put them in your backyard and that they're there in your backyard." He's like, "I ain't got no pot plants in my backyard. What are you talking about?" He's like, "All right, do you mind if I come back and check?" He's like, yeah, you can come back." And they walk back and the guy's just like literally walks to the back of his yard and is like, "What is this? These are not my plants. There's like 5 plants. Like, these are not my plants." And what's the cop say? "Okay, do you mind if I let your neighbor come over and pick them up then? Could she come get her pot plants back?" He was gonna.
Where was this?
So if that guy said no, he'd get arrested for having those plants. But if he said yes, the chick would get arrested if she was stupid enough to come over and take the pot plants.
Nice.
She was really growing them.
But where was this?
Oh, I don't even know. It was just that it was a random Cops episode. I wasn't really paying attention.
Oh, that's epic. I want to see that.
That was so smart of that cop to do that because it's like, I'm arresting somebody today. I'll let him get off for growing pot.
Oh, hell yeah.
This lady's stupid enough to come
he's
over
sitting there.
and pick them up.
Shit, no matter. I've had a rough month. I haven't gotten too many. I haven't made too much revenue for the corporation. You know what? I'm getting me a fucking drug bust tonight. Like, that's funny as hell.
If I was a black dude, I'd be like, "Yeah, she can have them. Actually, I'll carry them back over for her."
Yeah. You know what? I don't know who put them here. I'm sorry that happened to her, but I'll make it right by I'll carry them back for her. She can. Yeah, they're hers.
Wow. And it cut off right after that, so I didn't get to see the conclusion. All right,
that's epic.
Back to the topic at hand, all right? We touched on Philandro, right? Or Philando Castile.
Oh, it's all the topic at hand. It's everything that went down this week.
Oh, my God. That one really irks me, dude. He's my age. He's like kind of our age. And 32-year-old Philando Castile. That really, really bothers me. I will say his name over and over again because that man did everything right.
Yep.
And that's my biggest fear is even if you don't have a gun on you and a cop walks up to your car and has his hand on his gun and you says, "May I see some ID?" and you go reaching for that ID, he might shoot you. Yes, he's more likely to shoot you if you're black. But it's not just only if you're black then you might get shot. In general. If you're reaching for your license, even after
that subconsciously, without even realizing it, that subconsciously changes the way you interact with police. I got pulled over by a Fort Dix cop in military uniform, and when he approached the car, he went, "Yeah, can I see the license and registration?" "All right, I got to get the registration and insurance out of the glove box over here, and my license is here in my wallet. Give me a second." And told him exactly what I was reaching for and where it was. Like, I wasn't even thinking at the time, "Oh shit, he might shoot me." Like,
yep.
Subconsciously, it was automatic.
You want to hear something crazy? Bahamas. We're cool with Bahamas, right? On a political level, we're kind of cool with the Bahamas.
I think I shared this too, if you're going to say what I think you are.
The Bahamas has issued a U.S. travel advisory warning its citizens to be wary of the cops. In particular, young males are asked to exercise extreme caution.
Yes, I shared that story as well. The Bahamas, the travel advisory is warning their citizens that may potentially travel to the United States that there's been huge increased presence of police violence in that country and to be wary if you're going there. That's kind of scary because we're supposed to be this peaceful country, that we're not a police state and we're the free country, and the Bahamas is warning its people not to come here.
Yeah, seriously. Like something is wrong there, bro.
Something doesn't.
Well,
there's something rotten in the state of Denmark.
It's just honestly, it's scary because it seems like it's picking up more and more, and I don't see any kind of real solution being put forward. Do you see a solution that's going to stop any of this from happening and being put forward? I see the protests, and hey, I'm so happy to see protests because what have not constantly, but I've talked about it before, is we don't protest like we used to, back like we used to for the Vietnam War.
That's what I was thinking Friday when I was taping that stuff. I'm like, this looks like an old school protest.
And here's the difference.
Like
Brian.
What I in my mind think of when
Back
I think of a
60s,
protest.
When we protested, we weren't protesting out there with the
we weren't protesting
the military.
We weren't protesting our own police. We were protesting
exactly.
Vietnam.
We weren't protesting with the army out there making sure that we are orderly. Okay, we were protesting with some police there to make sure there was no incident or anything like that. But we didn't have our issue wasn't with the police. Our issue was with the military and their intervention in another country and the killing of our soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Letting our soldiers die, basically. And then we could come to find out the whole tomfoolery that went on with the Vietnam War, and basically high commanders couldn't have... High commanders
Gulf of Tonkin
were
incident
not
didn't
allowed
happen,
to
but
know
it did.
what the actual movement and what the actual things that were going on around them, the Vietnam movement or the Vietnamese movement, Viet Cong movement, they weren't allowed to know what was going on, so they couldn't actually win any ground battles.
Random fact of the day. The Vietnam War was the first time the U.S. experimented with weather manipulation as a type of warfare.
And the Vietnam War is also the definitive proof, I guess you could say, that false flag operations have been pulled off, because it has been proven time and time again that the Gulf of Tonkin incident never happened. But the Gulf of Tonkin incident is what was used and propped up there as, this is why we got to go to war with Vietnam. They attacked our U-boat. Fuck them. And everybody believed it. And come to find out, it's fake. So you can't get mad at people for thinking that the government is trying to pull the wool over our eyes. You can't get mad at people for that. You know what I'm saying? You may not agree with them, but don't get mad at them. There's proof to show that they've done it before. Maybe not recent proof, but it doesn't always take quite a while for the proof to come out, you know? It takes a while for the skin to form on the top of the pudding, and I call that the proof pudding. You know?
Skin on top of the pudding?
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's the proof pudding.
Okay.
All right, so these are the people that have died in the past year and a half from police shooting them. All right, bro?
Yeah, so let's keep going.
All right, Gregory Gunn. This is from ABC News, by the way. Yes, I don't like them, but I'm using their stuff here. Gregory Gunn. Montgomery, Alabama police officer Aaron Smith, who is white, has been charged with murder in the February shooting death of 58-year-old Gregory Gunn. Officer Smith shot Gunn, who was unarmed in the early hours of February 25th, steps from the man's home, according to police. Okay. Akil Dankins. This was a name I haven't heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard of this one.
A North Carolina prosecutor concluded that a white officer acted in self-defense when he shot a black man in Raleigh. Police have said 24-year-old Akil Dankins pulled out a gun and reached for Officer D.C. Twitty's. What kind of name is Officer D.C. Twitty? That seems like a false flag name.
Conway Twitty? Is that like Conway Twitty?
Mr. Kanye Twitty. Hello, darling. Reached for Officer D.C. Twitty's weapon before the officer shot and killed him in late February. Twitty was trying to arrest Dankins after he failed to appear in court on felony charges related to selling cocaine. So that's where the media actually could have propped that up as this guy's a criminal. He was reaching for the cop's gun. Yeah. But in all reality, the cop still murdered the dude. Did he not?
Yeah.
The cop still murdered the dude.
But it's not murder when you have a badge. Or you're in... Oh, no.
Call it self-defense.
I should change that. It's not murder if you're in a uniform, because you could apply that to military as well.
Well, when an officer claims self-defense, it's almost as if his entire force gets behind him, including the chief and everybody else, even internal affairs, gets behind him and says, he had every right. It was self-defense. And it's like sometimes, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure they're not just claiming self-defense because they know if they don't...
Lavoy Finicum. Lavoy Finicum. Exactly. It's like that little old man posed a threat to you?
We all know this.
He posed a threat to 80 fucking snipers? Come on, man.
We all know about Freddie Gray. 6 Baltimore police officers face charges for misconduct, second-degree murder, and the death last April of Freddie Gray. Gray, who was 25 and black, died when his neck was broken in the back of a police transport van. He had been restrained with handcuffs and leg irons, but not a seatbelt. The death set off several days of rioting in Baltimore. Here's the problem. The involuntary manslaughter trial of the first of Of the first of those charged, Officer William Porter ended in December in a hung jury. A judge acquitted 2 other officers in bench trials. Here's the issue with that. That's not like some new thing, and that's not something that only happens to black people. Maybe it happens to black people a little bit more. But people being thrown in the back of a paddy wagon, especially in cities, okay? People being thrown in the back of a paddy wagon, and I've seen it on TV shows and stuff where they're like, give him a good ride, Jim. Hey, Jim, give him a good ride. And they're like, gotcha! And they fly around corners and go through neighborhoods that got 18 speed bumps, and they fly over. Today's episode of 3NM Podcast has been brought to you by #Summer of Chaos. Buckle up, bitches, because the shitstorm's coming your way. All right, everybody. Sorry about that commercial break. We were in the middle. We didn't realize that the recording stopped, and we were in the middle of speaking on something. So we're gonna finish that thought real quick, and we'll come right back to you. You'll hear no interruption. But basically, what I was saying, Brian, and I know you don't agree with it, and I can understand why you don't agree with it, because you're right. It does put a lot of police officers in harm's way. But I don't believe we have as many citizens out there that are anxious and trigger happy to kill a cop because they know how that will ruin their life. Either they die within a couple days, or they're put in jail and put to death, or put in jail for life, okay?
Well, who knows?
Know the repercussions and what comes after you do something like that. What about the police?
What about Flocka? What about meth? What about heroin?
What about these innocent fucking people? What about these innocent fucking people being killed by police? What about them? Do they... Oh well. There's many more police out there that are trigger happy.
Here's the problem.
Ready to shoot an innocent person and kill an innocent person.
Here's the problem. If you take away the cops' guns before the people, the drug addicts and messed up people of the world do have that opportunity to kill cops that are unarmed. But if you take away the people's guns before the cops and the military, then that defeats the whole purpose of the Second Amendment, and we have nothing against tyrannical, oppressive government.
That's what I'm saying. What's wrong with
the only way is the only way it'll work is to take every single gun, as you've said billions of times, every single gun on the planet simultaneously.
Yep, shoot
it's the only way it could work.
You're like a little fart. That is the only way it would work. But as far as an actual... What I feel, I guess maybe if I were a zombie and I was thinking about this logically, I'm not a zombie, okay? So this really is not the answer for me. But if I was a zombie...
You're saying disarm the cops. I think you are a zombie.
Not disarm the cops, Brian. What I'm saying is replace that gun in a holster, that deadly weapon, that lethal weapon in a holster on their hip, replace that with a taser. An upgraded taser, I don't care. A little thing that shoots little taser bullets that shock, but they're not attached to a wire. I don't care what kind of taser
Tranquilizer darts. Use tranquilizer darts.
Little beanbag guns. I don't care.
No, you need something that'll actually take out someone who's shooting a gun at you. And it's like I referenced during that break.
Work on everybody.
During the break, I mentioned that 4 snipers apparently, or it may have been 2 snipers, or it may have been one guy with an AK-74. That story changed a couple times, but
been a mini army,
but they shot a bunch of cops. Now, if Nick's saying take the lethal guns off of the cop's person, what if the cops are being shot at in a situation like that? And, they have to get out and go to their trunk to get a gun to shoot back. Now, beanbags or something like that will not be effective against people shooting you with AKs.
No, it will not, Brian. But
that's
in that
just
type of situation,
retarded.
I think it could be handled. Basically, what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking about the UK's model. And I'm not saying the UK is perfect. Come on, they got cameras on every corner. It's obviously not perfect. That's a huge invasion of people's privacy.
They're on my reptilian shapeshifters.
As far as police brutality goes... Maybe their training is completely different. I don't know personally, Brian. But I know that in the United Kingdom, officers carry billy clubs.
Yes.
They don't carry guns. And it's hilarious.
Those things hurt, though.
It's hilarious to watch police interactions with unruly citizens in the UK because they have no threat of I could kill you at any second.
Yeah.
The people are like, get off me, man, get off me. And they'll like wrestle with them and the cops will wrestle with them. And it's actually fun to see the cops given a little bit of a challenge of how to wrangle this person. Yes, it would be a lot sadder.
That makes me think of Demolition Man.
Threatening them with a gun. But you give the...
Did you ever see Demolition Man?
Yeah, I love Demolition.
Guns are outlawed. The police have little stun batons. Citizens don't have guns. What happens when Wesley Snipes gets his hand on some guns? He kills a bunch of fucking cops, a bunch of citizens, and wreaks total havoc, and that's one person.
That's in one city, and that's in San Angeles. I'm curious as to
nationwide it would be a disaster.
Curious as to what the rest of the nation looks like in Demolition Man. One of my favorite movies of all time. That ain't Blondie. I love that movie, dude. I love that movie.
There's so many Sylvester Stallone catchphrases. I think Wesley Snipes made that movie. He had some great lines.
If that was any other actor, I think that movie would have just been like looked back on, kind of like RoboCop.
He played that perfectly.
Good, but not as amazing as it could have been.
Yeah.
But with Wesley Snipes, yeah, you're right. It went to a whole nother level.
Like he played that part so perfectly.
It was like late 1990s attitude.
You think we'll ever get to a point? We're talking about police getting out of control. You think we'll ever get to a point in this country where it's like, thank you for calling the emergency line of the San Angeles Police Department. If you prefer an automated response, press 1 now. You think we'll ever get to that point?
There. We could rid this fucking world of guns. I think we could get there. It's not going to happen.
If anyone never saw Demolition Man, it came out in the 90s. Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes.
That's why.
Point is, they end up in the future where, in the 22nd century, I guess it was.
22nd century is 2036.
I don't remember what year the movie took place.
2036 or 2050. It was
so not too distant future. Yeah. So that would fall under Agenda 21 timing. Ooh, interesting. Yeah. But guns have been totally outlawed. The police have no guns. Citizens have no guns. I don't even know if they're
San Angeles.
I don't know if they're even San Angeles
we
is.
Don't know about the rest of the nation.
Yeah, we don't even know if there's a military or not. But in San Angeles is basically Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and San Diego in one giant mega city metroplex. Yeah. Agenda 21 alert. Agenda 21 alert.
But we're going to Taco Bell.
Yes, every restaurant is Taco Bell.
Every restaurant is Taco Bell or Pizza Hut, depending on which version.
But the only place you can even see a gun is behind heavily triple protected bulletproof glass in a museum. Wesley Snipes manages to get his hand on some guns, and he's the only person in San Angeles with guns at the time. And
here's the thing. Okay?
He wreaks havoc on that city, kills a shitload of people, shitload of cops, blows things up.
What does our Constitution declare? Constitution declares that every citizen has the right to bear arms, correct?
Correct.
Does our Constitution anywhere declare that every police officer is required to carry arms or required to bear arms? Does it say anywhere in there?
Is a police officer not a citizen?
A police officer is a citizen.
Then he has that right.
He's also performing a civic duty and working for the government at the time that he's performing his job. While he's
in a line of duty where he's in a job profession where he may need to use arms at some point. So yeah.
Today's 3NM podcast has been brought to you by Nikola Tesla, the greatest inventor of all time. Happy birthday, Daddy. I don't know, Brian. I say take the fucking guns away from the cops, man. Honestly, that's what I say. I'm not saying take them away so they have no. That's in UK. They don't have access. Maybe one cop in a force or 2 or 3 cops in a force has a gun in their trunk. But it's not like every cop has access to a gun. So it's not something that they think like, oh, I can go get my gun right now and I'll deal with this the right way. Like, they don't all have access to a gun, and it seems like there's less police brutality on people in the UK, and I think that's the reason. So my solution is you take the guns, the lethal force, off of their hip, and you put it, okay, maybe not in the trunk, Brian, maybe in the car, stashed in the, in the center console or something. Have a new thing that's made where a police officer's gun is in the center console, but he is not tempted to, in any situation, oh my God, something could happen here, he's not tempted to pull that out and fire.
I think I found the happy middle ground here. Stash it inside your leg like RoboCop, so that
you're gonna say stash it in
so it's not like no. So it's not like it's in your hand or on your hip and you can just grab it and pull. You have to wait that 2 seconds for your leg to open and the gun to pop out.
Oh, well, look, I heard one cop say, I think it was Cenk Uygur or something on the Young Turks, right? I heard
I in no way support him, by the way.
I don't really support him, but I do like that he tries to be objective. I'm not saying he's always objective.
Shit.
He tries to be objective.
He tries to look like he's trying to be objective.
Just like Alex Jones tries to put out nothing but the truth and no, what do I like to say he does? No, blowing it up into...
fearmonger?
Not fearmonger,
Exaggerate.
I guess you could use exaggeration. The word will probably come to me in 5 minutes. But kind of like Alex Jones. I don't know. But I heard
it's reptilian shapeshifters.
Cenk Uygur said this, that there was one cop who came out and said his job is to get home to his family alive. I'm sorry, I have to agree.
Yeah.
No, but I have to... No. I don't agree with that cop. I have to agree with Cenk Uygur. Because you know what he said? That's not your job. I'm sorry, that's not your job. Then don't sign up to be a cop if that's what you think your job is, to make it home alive to your family. Your job is to protect and serve. Okay? If you have to put your life on the line and in the line of duty or put your life...
Because you know when you sign up that's what you're signing up for.
That's the only reason I have decided. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a cop. Up until, 5-6 years ago when I woke up, part of me still wanted to be a cop. After I realized that there's many corrupt cops and there's a lot of problems and issues, and if you join it, you kind of have to be corrupt. You could try and be an oath keeper to an extent, but you have to be corrupt to an extent as well. I didn't want to join it. But the main thing that really turns me off, I feel like I could be a good oath keeper. Main thing that turns me off is the whole aspect of guns in this fucking country. People can go nuts and fire at you like that. You know what really scared me? When that dude ran up to the Philly cop, ran up to his window and shot him in the head in Philly. And claimed that he was with ISIS.
Yeah,
that cop could have been an oath keeper. That cop could have been like me. That somebody was out there just to protect and serve the people. Okay, and that's what aggravates me when you hear a cop say, my job is just to get home safe to my family. Well, then, if that's all your job is, then... it's not too much of a stretch.
Then, as Beavrich said, it's time to look for it's time to look for a different job.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to take a quick break. It's not going to feel like anything to you people, so I don't know.
We'll be right back.
Go take a piss, but we'll be back so quick you're going to piss your pants. Fucking nuts.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that commercial break, ladies and gentlemen.
It didn't feel like one of them.
No, it really didn't.
It was just weren't they just here? What?
Yeah. But, in all the crazy excitement, I almost forgot about this. So much has been happening this week, I almost already forgot that the FBI said they will not file any charges against Hillary Clinton.
Nope. Yeah, but they did admit that she did do things wrong.
Yes, but they say her intention was not to commit a crime, therefore, she won't be charged. So, in other words, if I want to get shit-faced drunk and go driving down the street and run over a bunch of kids, if I get shit-faced drunk and run over a bunch of kids, as long as I didn't intend to run people over, it's okay.
It's going to be okay. All right?
Now, somehow I have a feeling if I got drunk and ran a bunch of people over, I think I'd end up in prison.
I think so. Unless you, what do you call it?
So maybe it's
Unless
only...
your husband is a former president.
Well, no, I was thinking possibly, getting drunk and killing people, that is wrong, but if you're giving classified information to the enemy, I guess that's legal?
Yeah. I don't know.
As long as you're not intending to give classified information to the enemy, even though you know they're the enemy and you're handling classified information because you had your assistant strip the headers off where it says classified and you freely admitted that to the FBI?
Yeah.
How are you allowed to run for president?
So, Brian, if she wins, is that going to be like the new Obama wasn't born here type of thing?
If she wins...
She's a criminal! How? She can't be our president because she's a criminal!
I think even the...
Say, shut up.
I think even the people currently, the politicians in Washington, I think all the people within the shadow government, behind the scenes even, I think everyone... at this point realizes if Hillary gets in office, there will be a war in this country.
I think you're right, Brian. I think, I don't know.
I think that's why they're running drills like Jade Helm and UWEX-16 and things like that.
A lot of people, when they analyze...
They know if Hillary gets in,
Well,
That's
a lot of
it.
people analyzing
Nobody will
those
stand
things
for
and
it.
thinking about the short-term plan. Like when everybody was talking about Jade Helm, they were talking about like this is going into effect, and it's going
That's
to,
why when people
shit's
give me
gonna
that
change in the
bullshit,
next month or
oh,
two."
nothing happened in the last year. Yeah, dude, it's not gonna. It's a long-term. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Conspiracy theorists, I guess you could say, we're somewhat conspiracy theorists ourselves.
I'm very much
more objective.
I'm a
than
conspiracy
most.
researcher.
Well, that's what I guess we're alluding to is we're more objective than most conspiracy.
I try to find something to back up stuff before I just go out and say it.
Okay. I don't even know what I was going to say. Can't even remember.
Nick is a little more reserved in his opinions, I would say. You are?
Yeah, I don't know. The long-term game. That's what I was saying. Yes, I'm much more reserved. I've become much more reserved.
I tend to look at the situation, then figure what the worst-case scenario could potentially be so that we can prepare for the possibility of that worst-case scenario. Not saying it will always be, but you have to be prepared.
What were we talking about before? Agenda 21. A lot of people believe with Agenda 21, like I even stated on Agenda 21, well, all these videos that were coming out in the mid to late 90s about Agenda 21 saying within the next decade to 2 decades you're going to see all this affect you. And
the militia movement in the early 90s fucked that all up.
But those people may have just been putting out too short of a timeline.
Hillary Clinton herself has said on camera, we're way behind schedule. Australia and London are the models.
A certain conspiracy, and I'm not saying, well, just any conspiracy you can say, well, that could be real. The timeline could just be longer than you think. But timelines set for certain conspiracies, a lot of times are set too short. What do you call it? Agenda 21 may have just been set too short. Could be a 30 or 40-year plan to implement all this.
Now that's why they've upgraded it to the 2030 agenda. And you see how it's speeding up. Like, if you're familiar with Agenda 21, especially if you've looked at the 2030 agenda and seen some of the new additions, day to day you can see how fast it's ramping up more and more and more and more. It's like it's like you're on that train, and the train starts going a little faster, and soon you're going so fast around these sharp curves, you have to wonder if the engineer done croaked on you.
Oh, no, folks. He's talking about trains and FEMA camps. Here we go. No. Anyway, look, Brian, another perfect example of that, and this is a little more convoluted, but you know me, I can be super convoluted at times. 2012. Everybody thought December 21st, 2012, everything's going to change.
Y2K.
We're entering into a fifth dimension on 2012. Well,
what about Y2K?
Here's my thing, Brian. Since 2012, I've noticed some things. Some things I guess could be attributed to something called the Mandela effect.
Which the Mandela effect could be attributed to some things that entities such as CERN may be experimenting with.
I don't know if I would call CERN an entity, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't want to. I didn't want to just say company because they're more than a company.
Organization. That's definitely probably an organization if I've ever seen one. But I don't know. Yeah, it could definitely have something to do with CERN. We'll touch on that on a future episode. We'll come back to Agenda 21 because it's like we said on that show. It's a deep rabbit hole to go down, and you can't just say it's not true or it's totally true. You can't just make blanket statements like that. There's definitely a middle ground there that a lot of people don't want to admit that there is a middle ground.
Plus, a lot of people tend to forget the fact that all the information that's out there about Agenda 21 that you can read, there's still stuff you don't know. Exactly. You think they let us know everything?
Exactly.
That's why these people are like, this is what the plan is, we got to be ready for it. Yeah, you do got to be ready, but that doesn't mean this is exactly what the plan is, because they know that you know this plan. So don't you think they're going to change it up a little?
Well, like I said, we'll touch on those topics a little more in future episodes. But you just reminded me of something I thought about last night. It was just a quick thought I had in my head, but I wanted to write it down, and I did it, and I was mad at it.
I hate when I do that.
But you just made me remember it, Brian. This is kind of what
patting myself on the back
in believing that conspiracies can be real, especially government conspiracies. Because if you've done any kind of looking into our military, especially I started when I was young with looking into UFOs and stuff like that, there is classified information out the wazoo. So there's a lot of people who don't believe in conspiracies.
And if that's something you're really interested in,
or anything hidden
well,
from them,
you know what? You can even tell them, I won't even use Operation Northwoods because we always reference that.
Use the fucking NSA spying
No, I got a better one for you. I got a better one for you. Area 51. How long did the government insist that it doesn't even exist? And now they admit, yeah, it exists, but we're not telling you what's there.
Exactly. So there is so much classified secret information. If you've ever known anybody that has a government security clearance, even the lowest level government security clearance, you quickly find out there's things that you're not allowed to know. And it's not like that person tells you. No, that person just tells you there's things you're not allowed to know.
Yeah.
Sorry, but there's things you're not allowed to know for national security purposes. And
my life's at risk if I tell you.
That makes the whole Hillary Clinton situation with her emails much more scary because it's like, what does she know and what is she sharing?
I'm sure she knows a lot because
servers.
Think how long Hillary's been in the system. She was on the Warren Commission originally.
We want to talk about secrets.
She was thrown off of it for friggin' misconduct.
I think this is the most prevalent of all these secrets that we're talking about. And obvious
JFK.
That they're secrets? No. This is so much more.
MLK?
No. I'm talking about the 9/11 Commission.
Oh,
report.
yeah.
28 pages redacted?
Yeah.
28 pages redacted from the largest terrorist act, the investigation into the largest terrorist act in United States history. 28 pages of classified information to this day that still can't be shown to the public. Why did George Bush and Dick Cheney insist on meeting behind closed doors and off record?
Why are the JFK files still classified after...
What did we talk about? 2017.
Over 50 years.
But Hillary ain't going to release that shit.
Oh, hell no, she won't.
No, she ain't. No, she will not.
Unless...
You're such a bitch.
You know what? She might to... down the Republicans, because George Herbert Walker Bush.
He was involved, or he was
supposedly. Yeah, it was the Republican side, quote unquote, that was. They were saying, so she could kind of use that against the sheeple. Be like, you don't want to vote for the Republican Trump. The Republicans killed Kennedy.
I think that would be.
I'm on your side. Something stupid like that.
That would be too damning to the establishment.
Yeah, she knows that, too.
There are still so many people. I don't know what the percentage is. I really would love to know what the percentage is of American people that are still, I'm a Democrat. I'm a Republican. Like, I got into an argument with the owner of my job, and unfortunately I had to stop and pull myself back before I really told him how much of an idiot he really is, because I probably would have lost my job because he's an owner of my job, right? But I got in an argument with him because he was basically saying, these Democrats, man. These Democrats. Yeah. They got this country all screwed up. You see what Hillary, she's a criminal, and blah, blah, blah.
He's right about that.
And I was like, Trump ain't no better. He's like, yeah, Trump might not be any better, but the Republicans, we got it figured out, and we know what we need to do to get this country back on the right track. And I was like, they're all the same. What are you talking about? There have been no major policy changes between Republicans and Democrats in the past 50 years. He's like, what are you talking about? You're so wrong about that. And I was like, all right, what about our military-industrial complex and 90% of our federal budget going to the military-industrial complex? Has that changed between Democrats and Republicans at all in the past 50 years? No. What's up? It doesn't make any sense. He just wanted to he basically wanted to tell me I'm an idiot for not believing Republican philosophy, and I must be one of those Democrats. And then when I told him, no, I'm not a Democrat, I think both parties are a sham, and how come not one independent party is even given a chance or a shot?
Yeah, look what they did to Ron Paul.
In this country, what's up with that? Okay, like we didn't go to the moon, and yada, and I was like, all right, cool.
One of these people.
You don't believe in
what you were dealing with there?
Just a conspiracy.
What you were dealing with there, that wasn't just a Republican, that was a troll. That was a natural troll.
He's an educated man.
Then he's a natural troll, if that's the way he was talking.
He's older.
He was just there to troll.
50s, but he's an educated man, but he's one of those, like I said before on a previous episode, he's one of those lifelong Republicans. Even after the system falls, he's still going to be like, Republicans are the only ones that are going to get this figured out.
Yeah.
Even if he's the only person in a room.
Yeah, it's like the Republican candidate could be Karl Marx, and he would be like, gotta vote for him. He's gonna make it right. One of those kind of people. Yep. They resurrect Adolf Hitler, get him to run for president. I gotta vote for him. That's my party.
I wanted to ask him what he thought about Ron Paul. And I did say, he said, I said, they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. We're Democrats,
you know what?
Republican, they're all corrupt.
Can't
He's
stand.
Like, what do you mean? All politicians are corrupt. That's just something we have to understand and deal with in this country. I was like, excuse me, Ron Paul, Dennis Kucinich, There's other people that have spoken about this. They may not be politicians, but they're telling you, and they're pretty educated people. Like somebody from MIT, like Noam Chomsky, has talked about this. Don't try and tell me that you got it figured out better than these people, better
Bill
than
Cooper.
the guy at MIT.
Bill
Better than
Cooper,
Bill Cooper,
who we'll be discussing next week.
Oh, can't wait.
His life and death and the things he's seen and discussed.
Bill Cooper. You ever think that
he was naval intelligence? He was in Vietnam.
Not on a romantic level, because trust me, I'm not going there. I'm not gay, and I don't care if anybody is, but I'm not gay, right? Not on a romantic level. But do you ever feel like there's people who your soul resonates with? Like you feel like maybe even like you share part of a soul with that person, or like that.
I got that last night. I was watching Jurassic World, and I really felt. Nah, man, I really felt something with the one Velociraptor. We were on the same page. It was weird. We were like, I could read this Velociraptor's mind.
Velociraptor did not actually have a soul. Okay, maybe in some weird alternate dimension that Velociraptor does.
All living things have souls, Nick.
But it wasn't a living thing. It was an animatronic or something, or even maybe CGI. But then again, if they gave it some sort of artificial intelligence to make it seem more lifelike, maybe it did have some form of consciousness that we didn't.
That's a money-making idea right there. And I'm not going to do it because I don't feel like doing the legwork and I'm too busy. But if someone out there wants to invest the money to put some artificial intelligence into some dinosaur robots, make a theme park out of it, you could make a fortune.
Yeah, but how soon till those artificial dinosaurs or those
start thinking they're real and try to eat us?
Real and they're like, yeah, what do we got to deal with these humans poking and prodding us and putting batteries up our butt? Screw this, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know, Brian. But
then do like they tried to do in RoboCop and give it the prime directive or whatever they called the 4 prime whatever the hell they were called.
Prime directives, yeah.
Yeah, where
the 3 prime directives with the 4th hidden one.
Yeah, the 4th hidden one.
They always called it the 3 prime directives. Didn't mention that 4th one there.
Never attack an OCP official.
I'm much more like the 3 laws of Asimov's iRobot. I think that's much more realistic. I think the whole movie, I think, is much more realistic than something like RoboCop. But then again, I think we'll see something like RoboCop within the next 10 years. I think you'll see an officer or a military guy out there that's got like a bionic arm or leg or part of his body is bionic.
Their program. Well, we've talked about predictive programming. You see that everywhere. Video games, movies. They're pushing the bionic attachments thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary.
Like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. The story is the dude got his arm cut off, so Kevin Spacey's character, who he runs basically, it's like DARPA combined with Blackwater. It's like the largest standing military in the world, but they're a mercenary unit and a weapons manufacturer. He creates this arm for the soldier and hires him to his team. Yeah. But it turns out he's the bad guy who's trying to take over the world because he gets a seat on the UN and basically tells everybody, I own you now. My wealth can buy and sell all of you thousands of times over. I have the largest military in the world.
You think Trump saw that movie?
It's a video game. That's the storyline.
Okay, I'm sorry. Why did I think it was a movie?
Because you can, we might have been, but we were talking about a couple movies, but you can go on YouTube and watch it as a movie without the gameplay. It's just the cutscenes, and the animation's very good.
I always feel like I'm missing something. I always feel like I missed out on some part of the journey. Yeah.
That's why you look for the longest one.
It's still, I don't know, cutscenes. I skip cutscenes a lot in video games, so it's like having to watch all the cutscenes straight through in order to figure
but that's a game where you really wouldn't understand the storyline of what you're playing without the cutscenes, because they're long and detailed. It's a very good game.
Back in the day. I don't know if you ever heard of a game called Strike Force Centauri. Oh, man, the cutscenes from that game, it made me feel like I was on another planet, like 15 or 20 years in the future. Like now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was awesome.
That's how Advanced Warfare was. It was supposed to be here in the future after the Third World War.
Yeah, see, that was too real. So this shit, back in the day, Strike Force Centauri was a DOS game.
Well, Black Ops 3 took it to another level. The dude had, like, both his arms and a leg blown off, and they gave him bionic.
Tell you, Brian, I know it's probably not worthy of saying on the air, but I'm going to say it on the air anyway, Brian.
He's going to say it.
Brian needs to understand about me. Yes, I may play Grand Theft Auto 5 sometimes. I may play Splinter Cell sometimes, among other Xbox 360 games here and there. But for the most part, my heart and my soul is an 8-bit wonderland. Sorry, 16-bit wonderland. I was not really a 80s kid playing video games, but I was early from 1990
At some point, though, go on YouTube and just look Call of Duty Advanced Warfare movie. And just watch the storyline of that. It's such predictive programming. It's straight up. There's in the multiplayer maps, you can see chemtrails in some of the skies. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was in Black Ops 3, there's a multiplayer map. It's like a barn and like an old farm that you can tell has been closed for years. There's windows boarded up and shit's decaying. But the sign over the barn says GMO corn.
You've talked about this before.
Yeah.
On the show, I think, too. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I guess it's worth checking out. Even the Call of Duty name just always turns me off.
Just the newer games, the movie versions, with all the cutscenes, a little bit of gameplay, the storylines are just, they're telling you a lot in the newer games.
Well, they're dead. I honestly, with some of those games, I've looked
It takes me back to PlayStation with Metal Gear Solid.
I thought that somebody like me or you who has knowledge,
where he worked for DARPA or whatever,
into a lot of this stuff, is when they're looking to develop a game like that, or they're looking to develop the next the sequel or whatever, the prequel or whatever you want to call it, when they're looking to develop that, they look for somebody like me and you, and they put out some sort of a job description to find somebody like me or you, so they can
write the storyline.
Make it actually interesting and be relevant to the real world. People who like me and you, who might actually play it, will be like, "What the fuck? How the fuck?" Like, no other game has this kind of shit in it. It's like, it goes in this kind of shit. And it's like, that's a whole that might be part of the popularity, and nobody even really understands.
That's probably why Tom Clancy's video games are so damn good, because Tom Clancy knows shit. That's why his books were so detailed. He was questioned for a week on Capitol Hill.
Up until Advanced Warfighter. I like all of Tom Clancy's games. Back in the day, Tom Clancy games used to be like the best, like, I guess, military type. They weren't military like strategy.
No, that was Tom Clancy's book. They were based on his books, which had to deal with espionage and just stuff like that.
Every time I would rent them, I never bought one, but I would rent them from Video Stars or West Coast Video up the street.
Well, it's not worth buying them because he puts out a new one like every 6 months. But
they were good. That was pretty cool, too, to have a video store that rented out PC games.
I still think it's crazy that there was that Tom Clancy game came out in November or December, had the map called Oregon, and it looked exactly like the Malheur Refuge, which would be taken over 2 months later.
I'm conflicted, Brian. I'm very conflicted right now. If we were live, would we be gaining or losing listeners right now? Because we'd
be gaining the gaming crowd and losing everyone else.
Getting more and more and more away from our original topic.
Well, we warned the people that we talk about a lot of stuff.
We did, but let's get back to
a lot of different stuff
real quick, because we only got like 10 or 15 minutes left. We got 13 minutes left.
Ooh, lucky number 13 is that?
That is a lucky number. A lot of people think that's an unlucky number. That's actually a very lucky number, and that stands for a new beginning.
Ooh.
Because if you think about a dozen, how many things that we go by a dozen?
Baker's dozen is 13.
Baker's dozen is 13, but we go by a dozen months for a year, 12 hours in a day, 12 eggs, I'm saying dozen eggs. We have a dozen in our head for a lot of different things, right? And
you get a dozen soft pretzels in Philly.
Yeah, exactly. But if you think about it, that 12 is the end of that set of that dozen. To start a new dozen, if you're keeping your first dozen and starting to count some more, your next dozen starts at what? 13. So that's a fresh dozen right there. Okay, so that's where it's kind of like a fresh new number.
One thing we haven't touched on is we're recording on a Sunday, and yesterday Black Lives Matter activist DeRay McKesson was arrested for obstructing a highway during a protest.
Yes.
While he was on the sidewalk.
He was. But Brian, I don't want to get into Black Lives Matter just yet.
But that's part of what happened this week.
It is. But I wanted to touch on, I think I got 4 or 5 more people.
Yeah, we got to steamroll through these people. We're running out of time. That's true.
That were killed. Because I wanted to really read the comments. So I'm just going to read their names and as quickly as I can, I'm going to read them.
Yeah, we're going to try to squeeze these in.
About anybody, all right? I'm just going to read them out for information purposes. Okay, but then I want to read the comments afterwards.
Yeah.
Just to show, like,
Let's do it. All right,
because they're on a train. Laquan McDonald. Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke is charged with first-degree murder in the 2014 shooting death of black teenager Laquan McDonald. Van Dyke was charged in November on the same day that the city, on the orders of a judge, released the explosive dashcam video showing the 17-year-old McDonald being shot 16 times.
Jesus.
Van Dyke has pleaded not guilty and is free on bond. The video has prompted local and federal investigations of both the shooting and the police department. Okay, Samuel Dubose. Ray Tensing, a former University of Cincinnati police officer, is awaiting an October trial on murder and voluntary manslaughter charges in the fatal shooting of Samuel Dubose, who was unarmed when he was pulled over for a traffic stop. Tensing pulled over Dubose last July near campus for a missing license plate. Tensing's attorney has said the former officer feared being dragged under the car as Dubose, 43, tried to drive away. Tensing, who is white, is free on $1 million bond. Dubose was black. Seen that video? It's pretty fucked up.
Damn.
It's pretty fucked up that the guy drove away, but the guy didn't need to shoot him. He could have just jumped off, you know? Akai Gurley. Peter Liang, a rookie New York City police officer, was convicted February 11th of manslaughter in the death of 28-year-old Akai Gurley. Lang was patrolling a public housing high-rise with his gun drawn in 2014 when he fired and a bullet ricocheted off a wall, hitting Gurley, who was black. Lang, an American of Chinese descent, said he had been holding his weapon safely when a sound jarred him and he accidentally fired. In April, a judge reduced the conviction to negligent homicide and sentenced Lang to 5 years probation and 800 hours of community service. Jamar Clark, the November shooting death of 24-year-old Jamar Clark sparked weeks of protest in Minneapolis. Authorities say Clark was killed during a struggle with police. The officers Mark Ringenberg and Dustin Schwartz were trying to arrest Clark when he was shot once in the head November.
The Schwartz!
He died a day later. A key issue in the investigation was whether Clark was handcuffed when he was shot. The federal and state probes came to the same conclusion. Clark was not. But there was a lot of speculation that the dude was handcuffed in the back of a police car. Why would you put somebody in the back of a police car if he's a suspect of something and not handcuff him first? He was handcuffed in the back of that police car and they shot him in the head. All right, Brendan Glenn. Los Angeles Police Chief Charlie Beck in January recommended criminal charges be brought against Officer Clifford Proctor, who fatally shot an unarmed black man in the back. The shooting last May of 29-year-old Brendan Glenn in Venice sparked angry protest. It was the first time Beck recommended charges against an officer in a shooting. Investigators concluded that Glenn was on his stomach trying to push himself up when Proctor shot him. Wow.
Damn.
Christian Taylor, an unarmed black Angelo State University football player, was shot and killed during a suspected burglary at an Arlington car dealership last August. Christian Taylor, 19, was shot after Arlington police officer Brad Miller, who is white, was called to the dealership. Miller was fired from the department. Police Chief Will Johnson said Miller pursued Taylor without telling his supervising officer, but a grand jury decided to take no action against the officer. An autopsy determined Taylor likely used a synthetic psychedelic drug and marijuana before the deadly confrontation. I like to use marijuana. Doesn't mean I should be shot to death. Former officer Newman Raja, who has since been fired, was arrested June 1st on charges of manslaughter and attempted murder in the shooting of musician Corey Jones. Jones, who was black, carried a gun and had a concealed weapons permit because he feared being robbed of his musical equipment. Raja was investigating car burglaries, working undercover in civilian clothes, and driving an unmarked van when he spotted Jones's SUV, which had broken down on an Interstate 95 off-ramp before dawn. His attorneys and his union have called the shooting justified. Prosecutors have said recordings of physical evidence show Raja yelled for Jones to put his gun down more than 30 seconds after he last fired at Jones, and long after he should have seen Jones throw down his handgun and run away. Pretty crazy. This is where the comments I wanted to read you, Brian. And I'll read them all at once, and then if you have anything to say, I want to hear what you got to say. All right? Because they kind of irk me a little bit, okay? Too many of these cases, this is from Evan Starr, too many of these cases are because the victim doesn't obey the police. They don't respect the police, believing they can do whatever they want without consequences. None of this needs to happen, but too many bring it on themselves. Fucked up. All right, Spence 1000.
I half agree, but it is fucked up.
I don't agree with that dude whatsoever. The overwhelming majority of black victims of homicide are by other blacks. Where's the outrage? All right, a response to that is from Lethe. Irrelevant. We are discussing the treatment of black individuals by law enforcement. Stop trying to sideline the conversation.
Ooh.
Spence 1000. Look who's trying to slide line. You are in denial. All right, this is D-Toast T. Why is Freddie Gray listed in an article entitled Recent Police Shootings? I kind of asked the same question. All right. Shari Lynn Bradford Capers. So the guy in Minnesota that complied with the police, brought it on himself. What an ignorant comment. Exactly. Thank you, Sherry Lynn Bradford Capers.
Notice I said I half agreed with that guy's comment.
Yeah, I just did not like...
I'll say 50% of the time.
You guys ever read the comment?
Yeah, I wouldn't phrase it that way, but...
All right, this is from Lethe again. In order to have an unbiased conversation about this issue, can the correspondent reporting on this matter please provide the total number of police shootings over this same time period, including all non-blacks who were shot, so we can put this in perspective? Is there some reason this statistic is not being covered? It would seem to be a critical statistic in this conversation.
Agreed.
So that's all the comments. That's it. In the past 3 days, that's all the comments on an ABC News story. Shows how much people are really, like, clinging to mainstream news. It's like 7 comments. I'm happy. You go onto a conspiracy site or a news site, you'll see like 1,000.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Wow, people are going nuts. All right, you wanted to touch on D. Ray Davis? You mean to tell me D. Ray Davis from Night Tales the series got arrested last night?
No.
D. Ray Davis, he's the dude with those stony, silky eyes. He just looks at you. And
you all know his face, but you just never heard of him.
Yeah, D. Ray Davis, yeah. Now, D. Ray McKesson, right?
Yeah.
Is that who we're talking
that
about?
would be the activist from Black Lives Matter.
I don't know his name. I guess I'm hearing that he's like kind of a leader of the Black Lives Matter.
He's like one of the more prominent activists in the group. One of the more well-known.
Oh, I hate that sound. Can you tell me, Brian? We got about 5 minutes. Can you tell me what the real deal with D-Bag McKesson is? And
well,
Black Lives Matter. I don't hate you, Black Lives Matter. I just have heard some things about this guy, hence to make me call him D-Bag.
Well, last night he was arrested, as the time of this taping, it's last night, he was arrested in Baton Rouge. The charge is obstructing a highway, but we believe that it's more along the lines of instigating race riots, because his accounts, he admits this, a couple of his emails, his cell phone, a couple other things were hacked about a week or two ago.
Yep.
And one of the things that was found was a private message to another activist talking about how Loretta Lynch told him to really push the race issue, push that Trump is a huge racist, and start riots before the elections so they can roll out martial law. And he admitted that, yeah, my shit got hacked, that was probably authentic, and blah, blah, blah. He didn't deny that particular message was his. Last night, the cops arrested him in Baton Rouge at a Black Lives Matter protest.
Hence why I don't really think I like this guy. I'm not saying I hate him, but I don't think I like him. I'm leaning towards not liking this guy.
Now, is this you think this is a situation where they were using him, and now it's like, well, okay, he's been exposed. We have no further use. Let's get rid of the patsy.
Yeah, lock him up so he can't talk about what he knows.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Come on. Or at least lock him up so that he has that fear of knowing
you better not say
with us.
You better, it's like you better fix this.
Exactly. You need to do something or you're going to be locked up for good. Or we can make you disappear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but when that came out and then all this shit started happening, I looked at it all from a totally different point of view that I would have if I hadn't seen those messages right before Orlando.
Yeah. I don't want to say I like, but I somewhat support the Black Lives Matter theme or the idea of the movement. What I don't see, and I know I've heard other people call for this, and I'm not the best person to be even bringing this up just simply because of my skin color, but what I don't see is too much real action being brought about from Black Lives Matter. I've seen it with many other semi-political groups.
Well, what type of action are you looking to see?
I don't honestly know, Brian. The first action that comes to my mind is get involved in the political system and make a change. Get involved on your local level and in the political system. Get in there and make a change. Nikki Allen Poe fights for the legalization and the repeal of the war on drugs in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. And what's he doing? He's ran before for the mayor. He knew he wasn't going to win.
I still like Ron Finley, guerrilla gardening.
He's running for the Pennsylvania Attorney General or the Philadelphia Attorney General. I'm pretty sure it's Pennsylvania Attorney General as an independent candidate. He's trying to make a change the way it's set up, the only way that we can. Because rioting and all that, just like you said, Brian, it's going to usher in martial law. That's all that will do.
Yes.
More and more protests turn to riots. Well, it's like, all right, we got to install martial law, and it'll start in certain cities, and then it'll just spread out. Like, why not just spread it out?
And at that point, you're already declared national emergency, and elections are suspended. And guess who stays in office and gets to butt fuck us a little longer?
Maybe not, though. Yeah, I think you're right because of all the executive orders that have been signed into action, including all of the.
Yeah, there's one executive order.
That's in the NDAA.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I remember the one executive order that says when enacted, 31 other executive orders all go active at the exact same time without having to be reauthorized. It's just automatic through one executive order, tied them all together.
You know what I'd like to see?
All dealing with the government taking over things and continuity of government.
My best advice for Black Lives Matter: do everything you possibly can to get Cornel West to lead your movement. If you can do that, everything, you will. The best case scenario of what you're trying to do has the best chance of happening. That's all I can say.
There you have it.
We got 1 minute left, Brian.
Tell them where to find us.
You can find us at thebestyoutubechannel.com. Yeah, I said it. I said it, folks. Find us on Facebook.com/3NM Podcast. Facebook.com/Where We Lied To. I'm on Instagram at RealNickTesla.
YouTube.
Yeah, we're all YouTube. You go to thebestyoutubechannel.com and you found us. But
you can go straight to YouTube on the Where We Lied To channel.
Yeah, you can. It takes you directly there. But exactly. YouTube.com/Where We Lied To. And coming soon, 3NNPodcast.com. Yes.
It's up. It's just not done yet.
Yeah,
it's under construction.
Yeah, we'll have a bare bones up in a couple days. So by the time you hear this, hey, go check out 3NMPodcast.
Right?
.com. All right, kids. Been a wonderful time. And
every
week. Stay safe.
We'll see you next week talking about Bill.
Let me know when this gets irritating, okay?
Irritating almost at once.